Hi everybody, I'm David Krakauer.
I'm Kathleen Tagg, and thank you so much for being with us. And we are super excited today, like super ridiculously excited to have Eric still with us, who is over in Long Island, I believe. And Eric is
Yes.
the filmmaker of the movie Minion.
What's amazing actually is that we are speaking now just around the 1 year anniversary when we met.
We shot the movie in February and March of 2019, and we had been editing. I was working with this wonderful editor, Ray Hubley, who you all spent a lot of wonderful time with too. I really didn't want a musical score in the way that most scores are used, and that they kind of tell you, they kind of narrate the story for you often, and I wanted something that didn't do that at all. And I really did have this idea in my head for no other reason than I just liked the way clarinet sounded when I thought of this main character in the movie, whose name is also David. And I think I just poured over endless amounts of online clarinet music. I don't know. I was looking everywhere. I mean, honestly, I sort of didn't have a real sort of fix. And Eleanor Raisa invited me to her concert recital that she was putting together at Carnegie Hall. And at one point of the recital, the two of you came on, and it was like all those things when people talk about light bulb moments. Partly because I think, David, your clarinet was something wholly different than what I had experienced. It just was a human voice to me. I was so, I don't even know, electrified. And within a couple of days, I think we had spoken, and then you came into our little editing room. Given that this was your first film score, how was the experience? How was it, and how is it different from what you expected? And was the experience fun?
So lucky to have this great experience, our first film score with you. The whole process for us was thrilling.
For us, everything about it was absolutely magical. We really figured out everything, step by step from the beginning, working off of our cell phones and our iPads, and then, working to set up our own studio. We really are using all sorts of extended sounds, things that just are very human. So we couldn't sort of plug in, what you would do for standard placeholders. I mean, we kind of did the longest possible route that we could have possibly taken to an end score by doing the entire score first in our living room.
I wonder how you chose all of the instrumentation. I mean, I know we spoke a lot about the clarinet being David's voice, but I wonder if maybe you could talk about some of the other instruments you chose and why.
Just to tell people what it was multiple clarinets, multiple cellos, and then piano and bass. And
there are a few cues where I called up my sister who had her own studio.
She did on 2 of the tracks, 3 of the tracks actually, send in beautiful parts.
Basically, the instrumentation was what we had here in the house the clarinet, obviously, all the way through being the voice of David.
But yes,
And David, you had a bunch of clarinets to.
bass clarinets as well.
Yes.
Today, we are going to be able to show you just a little clip of the actual movie, and being able to show you actual footage from the film is incredibly exciting for us. This is the very first music cue from us on the film, and it's the opening where you see David, the main character.
When David emerges from his grandfather's apartment building out into the world, it was almost like you had gathered up all the tools that you were going to need to tell the musical story from beginning to end. As David is walking down the boardwalk in Brighton Beach, I think the clarinet had echoes of some world that had been left behind. It was like, to me, it was always the sense that you could tell that David had come from somewhere else. From a technical, or maybe slightly more technical perspective, maybe talk about how you sort of structured some of the underpinnings to the music. I know we talked about some of the kind of markers and cues that, like whenever we saw David's eyes, I think that was a moment to sort of intensify or shift.
It was this obvious thing every time you see, like, for example, there's a lot of things with eyes and mirrors and these small gestures, and we do definitely underpin those throughout the score, and these few things that sort of recur, and yet in a way that we tried to do it, subtly. So the score was really a mixture of these very specific things that hit exactly where we wanted to, and then a very malleable thing where the music's kind of swum around with the general content.
It was a beautiful process for us, and we really, truly felt like we got a master's in film music composition from you, Eric. So that was just fantastic. The film has a very, very wide emotional palette, and that was very interesting for us to work with those different kinds of moods, ranging from very, very deep pathos to incredible humor to downright steamy sexiness. So that was really quite a beautiful range for us to work with.
This clip that we wanted to feature from the Lower East Side scene, 1M4, is still remember, is the name of the cue. But this,
it's like tattooed, right?
oh my gosh,
Pretty much.
So this one though was, every single cue was, people would say like, well, how do you guys come up with the music, and does one person start with the melody and somebody does the whatever, and literally we can say that every single time was different. Some of them I would originate, some of them David would originate. Sometimes we would just sit down and start jamming together and then come up with an idea. Sometimes I would have like an idea about a harmony and David would put a melody. Every single time it was different, which was kind of really, that's also what kept it super alive for us. So this particular one was probably the most magical in a way.
Moved from Brighton Beach, the character's home in Brighton Beach, which was a very private moment, to the streets of Brighton Beach where he was hanging out, and then it leaps into the Lower East Side, so it shifts in a kind of geographic way, and then it also shifted in terms of like from private to group to like being estranged and private again. I think there were a lot of different ways to look at the shape of it, I think.
It's a tremendously emotional scene, and as we did it, it truly was an exchange of. I would come up with a little idea, and Kathy came up with a piano part and a texture and harmonization, and we got it, and that was really quite a discovery for us.
I think it begins like sort of inside as a heartbeat, right? And in a way, it's like that kind of interior scream or cry that you can never really let out.
For this next cue, we wanted to make a sound really kind of electronic, so things like these sounds like. And then finding these kind of real kind of stopped strings. And then kind of a heartbeat sound. And the sound of David's clarinet really following the journey and the shape of this emotional unfolding of David, the main character, and you just see this utter desolation sort of peaking at the same time. Yeah, so this is the cue, Lower East Side, 1M4.
I'm sort of like insisting that as soon as this, even if people have to sit like 6 seats apart, we'll have to get the biggest theater in New York and like get all the friends and family, but have them sit, at a real distance and wear a whole mask and respirators. I don't care, but you have to see it on a big screen, and really the sound, like that. So I can't wait for that to happen.
Me neither.
We can't wait.
So we'll be letting everybody know when that day might be that you too can watch this movie and we can watch this movie. So
yeah,
we'll be letting everybody know when that is. But in the meantime,
Absolutely.
put this on your watch list. And thank you so much, Eric Steele.
yes, thank you, Eric.